Dr. Early, thanks for joining me. I love doing these, and I'm particularly excited about you just because I've never had anyone who's like starting their own practice on here. So, as an entrepreneur, I just have so many questions about what it's like. So, thanks for hopping on today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
What's the elevator pitch on who Dr. Early is? Just like what do you want people to know about you?
Great opening question. So I first, in this context, am a board certified ophthalmologist. I've been in practice since 2018, and I left the large practice setting in about a year ago, and I've been in the process of opening a de novo, really boutique cataract refractive practice in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we are on track to be opening in March, which is extremely
Hmm.
exciting. It's been a not long in a negative way, but it's quite a journey. So it's been a process over the past year. Outside of my clinical practice, I'm married to an orthopedic surgeon, and we are the proud parents of three young kids. And recently got a dog too. So there's just a lot going on.
That's awesome. I have to ask, like, do you guys find yourself just talking about medicine all the time, or is it one of those things where like your day job is so immersed in that it's kind of off limits at home?
It's a really nice hybrid because being an orthopedic surgeon and an ophthalmologist, it's uncommon that we don't really overlap,
Yeah.
clinically, but we both understand what it is like to be a surgeon. We understand what it is like dealing with patients and some of the kind of nuts and bolts of being a clinician or a physician. We both understand, so we can kind of commiserate and support each other in that way, but our fields are pretty separate. There's not a lot of overlap
Yeah.
between bones and eyes. So,
Yeah.
so we're not like on top of each other, but it has worked out pretty well. We can sort of compare notes and share things along the way.
Yeah. No, that's cool. When did you first start thinking about opening your own practice? Like, what was that kind of origin story like?
Yeah, I was pretty well into my first, half a dozen or so years of practice. I came out of residency and took what I felt at that time was my dream job. And at that point in time, I really had no inkling or thought about ever being solo or a practice owner or founding a practice or anything like that. In fact, it was really the opposite. I very much thought as a trainee that the days of hanging a shingle, as they say, are over. That's not possible anymore. Private practice is nearing the end of life. And so my feeling was that there was like safety in numbers and I should just go somewhere that was big and robust and that would be the best way to begin and at that point, plan to continue my entire career. So that tune started to change a little bit as years went by. Um, Death by a thousand cuts, there was never one like
Mm.
major moment that I decided, but over the years, I started to get very involved in speaking and some of the national meetings and some smaller scale meetings where I really was able to network with some incredible people, both on the industry side and on the ophthalmologist side. And through that, it really opened my eyes that, wow, there actually are some really incredible practices that are a totally different model than what I'm in, not academic, not private equity owned, not sort of a corporate structure. And some of these practices are really phenomenal. And some of them that are phenomenally successful maybe have only been in existence for 5 or 10 years. So as I started to make more connections, at the same time, I was having some misgivings about the setting that I was in. So, looking at what will I be doing for the next 20 or 25 or 30 years, and I knew that I didn't see myself continuing on the same path. And so then it was a decision of, okay, well, should I leave and relocate my whole family and join an established practice? Or should I go out on a limb and build a practice where I live that is exactly what I want it to be? And after a lot of consideration, that's the route that I decided to take. Part of that consideration was really changing my mindset because it's an interesting market that I am in. There are very few practices. There's basically two large multi-specialty, multi-location groups, and that's really it. There's not a lot of smaller scale or single or few doctor practices. They just don't exist. So whereas initially that was very intimidating to me and I thought, I mean, how could a small practice even hold a candle? But
Mm,
I really underwent a mindset shift to where I realized the market is wide open. There that doesn't exist. So I should be the one. I should bring that to
mm,
this area. So that's what I'm
that's cool.
doing.
That's awesome. That's great. What are some of the fears or concerns you've had to work through over this transition? Like what kind of hurdles have you faced either mentally or, otherwise that kind of are unique to starting your own practice?
That has evolved a lot along the way too. I can tell
Mm,
you about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was having a conversation with a very dear friend of mine who's also an ophthalmologist, and, um, and I was starting to think about going solo, and she was like, "What is your biggest fear?" And I said, "Failure. That's my biggest fear is the fear of failure." And she said, "Oh my gosh, wow, I can't believe you would even think that, like, I that doesn't even occur to me when I think about you doing
mm,
what you're doing. Maybe I would be fearful of people being mad at me from the old group that I was in or something like that, but she's like, "You're not gonna fail." So it took me a while to get over that fear of failure. I think a lot of us in medicine and in ophthalmology are perfectionists. We are detail oriented and we like for things to be very um, high end and very successful. Of course, we have very high expectations for ourselves. So to really go out on a limb and not have any safety net, so to speak, is really different than anything else I've ever done. The
mm,
path through, for me, college, medical school, residency, job was very linear. And there, I just did one thing and I knew what I had to do to get to the next step and the next step and the next step. And at
mm,
each step along the way, there was always kind of a plan B. Like if you don't match at your number one program, you've got 12 or 13 other ones ranked. So you'll probably land somewhere. But this was the first time that there was really no alternative. So
mm,
that was a big part of it. And now I've gone through this whole process and really laid all the infrastructure and invested a lot of capital and put all my eggs into this basket. And now it's like, okay, now I just have to get patients through the door.
mm,
Everything will be ready. It's just
mm.
I have to get patients in.
Yeah.
So the fears
Mm.
change, but there's always something kind of rolling around.
What you are probably fortunate to have a lot of peers who have either been through similar journeys or, maybe started theirs 10 years ago and have learned some things. Is there any kind of feedback or advice you've gotten that really sticks out to you as you've gone through this process?
I think the power of having a network and just having a robust group of people that you can tap into and I have been very fortunate to have a lot of friends and colleagues who have been extremely supportive along the way and have connected me to their contacts and their vendors and their, you know, industry partners and all these different things that I can use to build it how I want it to be. And so I think that's been really the key is having all these different people to tap into. And I'm telling you, like the degree of support and assistance that I have gotten from
Yeah.
people who are 12 to 24 months ahead of me or 5 or 10 years ahead of me. And all I can do is thank them. And I've told them I will do the same for somebody who asks me, like, thank you for passing your wisdom on to me. The best thing I can do is just pass that on to the next person who says, "Hey, Allison, I'm kind of thinking about going solo. How would you do this or that?" And that's starting to happen. So it feels good to be able to share things that I've learned so that somebody else can have a smoother process as they break out on their own.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you most excited about? Like, what are some of the things that I mean, you're close. I mean, 6, 8 weeks away from doors open, and like you're in it now. So what are some of the things that you're kind of most excited about at this point?
I am so excited to have a staff around me who is part of my team and that we feel like we are doing it together.
Mm,
And I've tapped a couple of people already who I know are going to be phenomenal. And I really think that starting from that nucleus of a team that is all on the same page and working toward a common goal is going to translate into a really high level of patient care, and we're going to make people happy. We're going to make them see better. I mean, what could be better about
yeah.
your job than helping people be able to see and to live their life better? So I really feel like it starts from the people that I will have around me, and then that bleeds into just everything else that we do in our practice.
Mm. I love it. That's awesome. Thanks so much for joining today. This has been really fun for me, and it's very unique, very different. Just kind of this journey you've been on. So thanks for sharing it with folks. What's the best way for people to kind of follow you online? I always tell you how great I love. Our team loves your Instagram, so don't forget to mention your Instagram.
Thank you. Yes. So I am active on my personal Instagram, which is Dr. Allison Early, just Dr. period Allison Early. I would love to have some support on my practice accounts. The practice is called Signature Cataract and Laser Consultants. And you can find us on Instagram at Signature Cataract. And we're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and X at this point.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Early. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you.